I know that sounds like a silly title. Like, yes. What? Tell your players before you blow them up. Does that even make any sense? Yes, it does. Let me get to that. I'm Sheriff. This is Cosmic Crits, where I talk about whatever TTRPG stuff I want, and you can't stop me. So, this is going to be an experimental series. I'm running a weekly game of Cloud Empress every week, and instead of doing campaign diaries, which I thought that might get a little boring. Like, who wants to hear me talk about what happened in my game? Like, there's plenty of podcasts you can go listen to, people running their games or people talking about their games, and I want to do something a little more interesting and a little more, I don't know, more something you get a little more out of, right? And that is, I'm talking about what I did wrong, right? And this week, I should have told my players before I tried to blow them up. So let me get around to talking about that. I'm running a game called Cloud Empress, which is kind of a hack from Mothership. It's not really. It's its own system, but it uses a lot of the stuff from Mothership and puts its own twist on it. If you've seen the movie Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind, it is that, but not that. It's completely unique. It's completely different. It is its own thing, but it is that sort of ecological science fantasy kind of setting. And I really like it. I read the book. I originally sort of brushed it off. I was like fucking psychic cicadas and weird alien stuff. There's not a lot of alien stuff, but weird stuff. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'll keep running my alien games of Mothership where all my players get eaten and it's fun. It's fun. I like Mothership. I'll talk more about that later. I've got a lot of videos ahead of me, if you can't tell. But Cloud Empress is special. I opened it up and I went, wow, hold on, I actually do have to run this. And it's got a lot of really interesting concepts. It improves and changes a lot of different things about Mothership, and it is a really fascinating setting in general. So, what am I doing? I'm running a game called Lost City, and it revolves around the players or these different cloudling houses. To give you some context, in Cloud Empress, it is set in a post-apocalyptic Earth, which in my setting it's a little different. It's a post-apocalyptic planet, which isn't terribly different. It doesn't change a lot of things. It's just in my own head. It's different. It's not Earth. It's not meant to be. And the planet has been corrupted and polluted, and there's all sorts of terrible things going on here. Humanity's kind of on its last leg here, and there are two factions, right? Two factions, two types of people. You've got farmerlings, which live on the ground. They tend to the fields. They travel. They do their little farmerling things. I don't know. And then there's cloudlings who live in the cloud cities above the clouds, these sort of floating cities. It doesn't say floating in my mind, they're tethered or something. But they're floating cities in the clouds, and they're overcrowded, and their lordlings are what preside over them, and they sort of are uh, these people that are obsessed with tradition and their royal lineage and that sort of thing. And they don't like each other. In my setting, there are multiple different houses, and they control different areas. And I ended up basing these house names. Maybe I'll make a video on that too. Tell me if you want to see that, about how I name the houses. But they're all like how I name things in general. But I name the houses on different real royal houses. I just hold on. I've still got the tab here. It is 119 royal family last names from all across the world. These surnames are meaningful and represent the origin of a person. I bet they are. Thank you. I can't read that name. Sorry. I would butcher it. Anyways, but a lot of these names in here I'm butchering, so hopefully they're not all too bad. But anyways, the different groups are fighting amongst themselves, and we're following a group called House Orsini, which one of the players is Lady Orsini, and her spy master is another one of the players. And they smaller house, but they're spies, right? That's kind of their thing. I mean, they're not outwardly spies, but they ended up pissing off another group by being spies. Now, House of Bernadotte or Bernadotte, or I'll put it on screen. You can decide how it should be pronounced, because I'm wrong probably. And but they're Bernadotte in my mind. Maybe I'll change it later. We'll see. But I've set it on video now, so I guess it's permanent. Anyways, Bernadotte, they are a more militaristic faction, and they have been sort of skirmishing and battling with House Orsini, and it sort of led up to this point, right? Now, in the north, to the northern lands, there is a place known as the doldrums, which is a sort of wasteland surrounded by a psychic storm wall. Is what I've decided. Yeah, that was just something I was like, because right, it's based on Ghibli films, and here I am trying to come up with interesting ideas and concepts in Ghibli films, and I'm like, what's neat? And I'm just spitballing ideas, and I was like, psychic storm wall, yeah, giant storm wall, and it's also sky psychic. That sounds cool, right? So we're sticking with it. Anyways, in there is the Lost City. It was this ancient city that the I can't go into too much detail, but rumor is there's a lot of science stuff and gold and money and valuable resources, but most importantly, the crest of the Imago. Now, that's the particular thing that all the royal houses are after. Other people might be traveling there for their own reasons, but the royal houses, they specifically want the crest of the Imago because during the Millennium Brood, the Imago are these psychic cicadas. The Millennium Brood happens every 1,000 years, and hundreds and thousands of cicadas come out from their nest. Huge psychic cicadas, I should add, come out of their nests to be a real nuisance generally, and kill a lot of people. I think that's what the thing implies. So already the psychic cicadas are a problem, but if you could control all these psychic cicadas, you would have power unmatched. Okay. Now, I'm not here to talk too much about my setting or Cloud Empress in general. You can go read the book. I'll put it in the box below. And that is up to you. That's your thing. You go do that. I'm here to tell my story of what happened. Okay. And that's where we get to what's going on here. Essentially, everybody sets off north, right? And including House Orsini. And we follow, the session starts with two other players who are Traveler, Veer and Kike, and they are sort of wandering through the hillside, and a explosion explodes next to them. I didn't ask them if they should be exploded, but that's not the point. The other people are the ones that should have asked before I blew them up, or should have told them at least. And anyways, they are in a barge. Barges are these flying airships. If you've seen a Ghibli movie, you know what I'm talking about. And House Bernadotte has emerged out of the clouds and has fired a warning shot at House Orsini. And everybody on deck is kind of scrambling, right? What are we going to do? What's going on here? They get a transmission, and Lord Bernadotte essentially tells them that they can surrender or they're going to blow them up. Turn around, go home, get out of here. We're going to go get the crest of the Imago. You guys suck. You guys are a bunch of losers. And we're gonna go north, and you guys are gonna eat it. And they're like, do we think he's lying? Right? With the context that they know, which I mean, I probably should have gone more into depth of these things, but I didn't. But they knew about House Bernadotte, and I could have been more like, yes, this guy is kind of an asshole, right? But they got the gist, right? But they were like, is he lying to us? Is he just gonna blow us up, right? And maybe I should have told them that. Because, and I think, and I'll get to this in a minute, what I should have done is I should have just said, yeah, he probably is lying to you. And the players then get to make their decision. But instead, I didn't say that. I let them decide. They said, okay, well, we will start to turn around. I mean, there's nothing we can win here. This ship is bigger than us. And I decided that I was going to use a Shipbreaker's Toolkit. Now, I have a lot of words to say about the Shipbreaker's Toolkit. You want opinions? I've got it. It's one of the core books of Mothership. And I could go on all day about how much I hate that book. Okay? I have a lot of words to say, and they're not very nice ones. But again, story for another day. But I thought I'd try it, right? I'd try using the Shipbreaker's Toolkit in this situation and see how it goes. So I give it a shot. And the player's like, okay, cool. Well, we're gonna turn around and we're gonna do that. I said, so you're just gonna turn around. You're gonna. So they're below you. They fired the warning shot, and you guys are gonna sort of turn around and see what happens. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do that. And I was like, okay, cool. As you guys forfeit your turn, they're gonna get a free shot because you're not even trying to fire. They get a shot off on you, and bam. Okay, cool. I roll the mega damage, 2 mega damage. Their weapon systems are down. Okay. What are they gonna do, right? They've basically got nowhere to go from here, and this is kind of what I intended. I intended for the beginning of the session to start with them crashing their ship, and maybe that was a bad idea. This is where I go to. This is where the title of the video, maybe tell your players before you blow them up, comes in. Because I didn't tell them that I was going to do that. I thought I mentioned to the Spy Master that I was going to do that when we were making characters and talking about stuff. He doesn't remember that, but I swear it happened. But in general, especially Lady Orsini, did not know that this was going to happen. She had been talking to me about her different plans and what she was going to do, and her scheming. She's a schemer. This player, Lady Orsini, I picked the perfect player for this, and she picked it as well, to be a real schemer. And I love it, and I'm excited to see where this goes from here. But she already had schemes in motion that she wanted to do with the information she had that I kind of fucked up because I said that I was gonna blow, because I blowed her up, and I said I wasn't gonna, or I didn't say I was going to. So kind of a bad start here, right? This is sort of a little bit of bad storm. I thought about just letting him go in my mind before it happened, but I had, like I said earlier, I had 2 players on the ground that wouldn't really have anything to do if I didn't. So I had to make a decision. I said, okay, they're gonna fire on him, and I rolled damage. They lose their cannon, and what are they gonna do? Well, they're like, okay, cool. Well, we've got thopters on the ship. If you've seen Dune, you know what a thopter is. But mine are a little different. I'll put an image on the screen if I can find the source for it, because I don't like using copyrighted, or like, I don't like stealing other people's art without crediting them. If I can't find the credit for the Pinterest pin, I'm not going to use it. But if I can, it'll be right there. Anyways, they're like, okay, we got to get to our thopter bay, and we're going to get off this ship, and we're going to get everybody else in the parachutes to go. And because I was like, thopters hold like 4 people each. You're not gonna get everybody off this ship. It's not a big ship, but you're not gonna be able to get everybody off. So I said, okay, cool. Well, we're gonna make a run for it. They hear over the radio, Lord Bernadotte goad them. He's basically like, yes, run, you cowards. And well, Lady Orsini didn't take that well, right? Not only was she on her way to go and get the Crest of the Imago, that she had not only complied with what he said, that she got shot out of the air. She's pissed, and then salt was rubbed in the wound. So she says, we're kind of turning our ship around. I was like, yeah. She's like, and we're above them, right? I was like, yep. And she was like, can we fly the ship into their ship? And I said, yes, that's a great idea. This was not planned. I didn't have any idea here, but I realized my mistake there, where I had taken away player agency. And that's something you don't want to do. You really don't want to take player autonomy away. You don't want to take their agency away. That they want to be able to feel like that this is the world where they can do whatever they want, within reason, right? And when you take that away from them, you get a problem. Not only are they not able to do what they want, but they start feeling like they can't do what they want. When that sets in, then you get a player versus DM situation. And you don't want that. You really don't want your players to think it's them versus you. You want them to think it's them versus the world, and you're taking the place of the world, right? You're just conveying that. You're just a moderator. You're just playing the things as they are. And if you've written your games, or you're running a well enough written module, that's not a problem. But if you haven't, you start to run into problems, right? If you're taking agency away and you're not running the game as a world, right? You're running it against the players. Then you get this combative feeling. If you want to go combat, go pick up Warhammer. If you want to fight, go play Warhammer. But this is a game. It's a collaborative storytelling experience. I sound like Disney there, but anyways, it's collaborative, right? We're working together here. And when I did that, when I shot their fun out of the sky, I made a mistake. I screwed them over in a way that was going to make it so they couldn't do the things they wanted. I ruined their fun. Now, we are all adults. They got over it. Don't get me wrong. But I realized that I was going in the wrong direction, and I said, we got to fix this. Of course, you can fly the ship into the other one, because that's awesome, right? So they say, okay, so Lady Orsini turns to the pilot, and I actually had Orsini come up with a couple character names just real quick, and she turns to Indigo and says, Indigo, can you keep the ship on course while we all evacuate? And Indigo says, yes, I'll see what I can do. And the skill challenge started. So I had Lady Orsini make a skill check to see if she could encourage Indigo well enough to get her to stay up here and do her job, basically. Now, to give you a little more insight on Lady Orsini and the way she's being played, is she's a very motherly figure that's very cold and calculating. I really like that. So she was like, "Can I use my more tender, loving side to do that?" And I was like, "Yes, that sounds awesome. Hit it." And she does. She succeeds on that. Next up, they're running down the hallways. They're getting the hell out of Dodge. So that's when Spymaster Tobin says that he is going to, we're going through the ship. They're going through the different hallways, whatever. And Spymaster Tobin says, "Can I start getting the rest of the crew out of the ship? We need to start evacuating the crew." And I said, "That's perfect, yeah." So I say, "Can you, use your, I think it was military order. I think he has military order. And can you get them off the ship?" And he says, "Yeah, of course." So he rolls, but he fails. So that is failure one. And the crew is like, "Yeah, well, I mean, if we leave station now, the ship isn't going to be able to keep running itself. That's what we're here doing." And he's like, "Oh, well, shit, that's fair. You guys stay here. I mean, what else are we going to do unless you want to crash and not blow up the other ship?" They're like, "That's a good point. We do, it would be a shame if the ship crashed and didn't take our enemy down." And he's like, "All right, so I will go ahead and get one of the other spies to go ahead and get," because they have like 4 or 5 like spies that work under them. They're sort of elite soldiers, is the way I'm running them. And gets one of the spies to go run and grab. I think it was one of Lady Orsini's characters she came up with, Ord. And Ord runs off and he goes and gets some of the parachutes for them so that they can be ready to evacuate as soon as they, right before they hit, last possible minute. So again, works out, but it isn't a fail. It's just setting them back a bit. Now we do have one failure. That's going to cost them a bit. And I'll get back to that in a second. So they go ahead and they make their way out of the rest of the ship. I think that there was some other check of navigating the ship and making a shortcut. And one of them was to Thopter pilot. Now, I want to talk about something else that I did that I like doing. Okay, I don't run a session 0. Maybe again, if you guys want to hear this video, tell me down below. I want to hear that. But I don't run a session 0. And some people swear by session 0. So you gotta run a session 0. It's what you got to do. You got to set player expectations. You got to get them introduced to the world. You got to sit down with everybody and make their character. Well, I think that's really boring. So what I do is I sit down with each player individually, and we come up with a character. We build it together in a campaign setting. This isn't the same for a one-shot. In a campaign setting, we sit down together and we start working out a character and building up their backstory and rolling stats and that sort of thing. We get a rough outline of what they want to play and who they want to be and the stuff the character would know. And then I figure out who knows who and sort of connect the characters together, sometimes all in one group. In this group, I decided to sort of split them into 2 parts because I knew some people would want to play cloudlings and some people would want to play travelers. So I did that for their sake. So session 1 comes around and we sit down and we figure out extra things, right? We say, okay, is everybody happy with their characters? We all start talking to each other. And so really I run a session 0.5, if you want to put it that way, because we play about half a session. And that's what this session was. That we sat down for the first half and we discussed characters and we figured things out and we had the players interact with each other and start introducing themselves and figure out who's doing what. And then let the characters make revisions, right? When they're like, okay, well, I think it would make more sense if you already have that skill, then I'll change mine to this skill and do that. And the players aren't metagaming here. They genuinely just want to be useful, right? They want to have a unique character. And I don't think that's metagaming at all. So we start playing. Everybody gets in a character. We start doing things. And somebody says, and what happened here was that we were making it to the Thopters, right? And Lady Orsini says, okay, can I pull like I will go full Duke Leto here. That's a Dune reference for those, I don't know, 2 people that haven't watched or read Dune that are here for some reason. Dude, if you play games like this, I don't know why you haven't watched Dune. But anyways, that in the books, not to be a spoiler or anything, Duke Leto is like, no, we gotta go save those guys. We gotta go save the little guys with our Thopter. And I'm gonna fly our Thopter and we're gonna modify our Thopter a little bit so we can get the rest of the guys out of here when shit's hitting the fan. I hope you enjoyed that very spoiler-free Dune scenario. But she says, can I sacrifice this skill and take Thopter piloting instead and then tell my guys to get on and we take the Thopters off? And I said, yeah, that sounds awesome. So for the entire first session, players can swap out any of their skills they want to, right? Change anything about their character they want to if they feel it's right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I know some people are like metagaming and some people might try and abuse it, but I don't think that it's really a bad thing. I really don't. I don't think there's anything wrong with letting the players play the character they want to play, especially when they're going to be stuck with it. And it's really intimidating to tell a player their character is what they have to stick with for the entire rest of the game, right? When they've never played it, they don't even know how this character plays if they haven't sat down to role play it. And you're going to force them to play the same character for the rest of the game. I think it's unfair. So I let her swap out the skill. So she hops in the thopter and they take off. And in just in the nick of time, the last parachute drops. And the ship hits the House of Bernadotte's gunship's thruster. And it destroys House Orsini's barge, but it does not entirely take down House Bernadotte's. And that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because that's where... Oh, sorry. Took it out. So both thopters take off, everybody loads up, the rest of the people take parachutes out the side of the barge, and House Orsini's barge hits House Bernadotte's and cripples it in the thruster. Now, remember when I said there was going to be a consequence for failure, right? Now, I, on the fly, was like, okay, skill challenge time, because I didn't know I was going to be running a skill challenge. That was just something, spring of the moment, this is what's happening. I didn't know what the consequence of failure was, but I was thinking it over as I was going, and I was like, okay, cool. If they get multiple failures, if they hit 3 failures, right, before they get their 3 successes, that they're going to, it just isn't going to work, right? That the ship is just going to crash, womp womp. If 2 failures, something's going to go wrong. There'll still be somewhat successful, but something's going to go wrong. 1 failure is there's going to be some minor setback, but it's not going to be perfectly successful. And then no failures would be it nails the ship and takes them out, and the ship crashes off in the distance and their ship goes down or whatever, yeah. But they had 1 failure, and I thought to myself, either it cripples the engine or they take out one of the thopters before they go down. Which, in the moment, I was looking at what the players wanted to do, and I could tell this group really wanted freedom and flexibility. And I said, I would rather let them have the thopters. And this was originally not part of my plan at all. I originally thought the players would not have thopters. It was intended to go on foot. The entire module, or not module, my entire adventure was meant to go on foot. They were supposed to walk and get a vehicle maybe later, I don't know. But it was meant to be traversed by foot. So I gave them thopters. This might screw me over in the future. I may have made a terrible mistake, but I think the players are going to enjoy it. I think they're going to like it. I think they're going to have fun. And that's what really matters, right? Earlier, I took away their fun, and now I'm doing what I can to give it back to them. So they got both their thopters. They didn't get exactly what they wanted, but it sets up something interesting that Lady Orsini is already planning on how to take advantage of the nearby house that is also moving north, that also is not fond of Bernadotte, and see if they can turn them to help them siege the crashed ship for loot and stuff. And I'm not going to spoil anything of what's going to happen there. You'll just have to listen next week. And if you want to be alerted on that, I'm not going to say it, but you know what to do. We're going to see how that goes. So I'm going to definitely let that happen. It's going to be really fun, and they're going to be able to use their different stuff for doing different things. But I thought that originally they were supposed to crash in the ship, and they would be somewhat injured, and they were going to have to make it to the nearest town. But that's not a concern anymore, because they got out pretty scot-free. I mean, not scot-free. They blew up their ship. But to me, they got off a lot better than I expected them to. And that's because of creative player ingenuity. That's because of some good rolls. That's because of the players engaging with the narrative. And for me realizing I kind of fucked up, and I should have told them that. To get to the point of the video, I have rambled on for a very long time. But when you take away player agency, you're making it, you're causing a schism, right? That's a big word. And that schism is eventually going to just get bigger. It's going to tear. It's going to make there's going to be a problem later on from it. And if you keep tearing player fun away, if you keep tearing their agency away, they're going to get pissed. That's not a game you want to play. You want the players to understand what's going on. You want them to feel like they are part of a situation. And I think that, what's the proper word there? I think restriction breeds creativity. But screwing over your players just makes them bitter, really. And you don't want that. Now, where I'm going with this is that if I had told my players that I was going to blow them up, they could know that this was going on. Remember what I said, that the restriction breeds creativity. Instead of feeling like they had to fight me. Now, Lady Orsini, part of the reason she wanted to crash the ship into the other ship was frustration that she wasn't going to have her ship anymore, right? That she was like, I'm going to make the best out of this and I'm going to do whatever I can. And I think that's completely fair. I think that's completely fair of her wanting to do that. Because I took away what she thought she was going to have. She was already planning things with that barge. And then I took it away. And that's kind of on me. Now, if I had gone the other way, like I said, that if I had told her that I was going to blow up the barge, then she wouldn't feel like she's missing out on anything. And in fact, with the restriction of knowing that this barge is going to get blown up, she gets to play into the fact that she gets to play into the crisis of what's going on, the saving what she can, of getting what she can off, of saving her people, of maybe duking it out, that she gets to decide what she's going to do there, rather than reacting to what was going on and putting her in a tough situation. So, basically that's what I'm getting at. I think you should tell your players before you blow them up. Because then we get to work together. Like I said, collaborative experience. We're all in this together. Let's have fun together, right? And that's what I fixed. And I want to do more of that in the future. I want to make sure the players are in it with me to have fun and come up with fun stuff and do fun stuff. Because at the end of the day, we're all working our 9-to-5s. And when we get off, we just want to go to make-believe land together and have fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I'm going to add a quick addendum to this. A quick thing about telling your players before you blow them up is something that comes up more often that is tangentially related to this, that is failures on rolls. That when a player fails a roll, that it could sometimes feel out of the blue if you say, oh yes, rocks fall and you die. Nobody likes that because they didn't know rocks were going to fall. Okay. But if you say, okay, they're like, oh, can I make an athletic checks to slip by this crumbly cliff? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. But if you fail, rocks fall and you die. And they're going to go, wait. Can I tie a rope to one of my other people so if rocks fall that they can pull me back? And I said, yeah, that's awesome. You can do that. Or maybe they would be like, can we shore up the rocks so they don't fall on us and kill us? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool too. But if you don't tell them that, they're going to be upset that you didn't tell them that they were going to blow up. If you tell them they're going to blow up, then they can plan around it. And even if they're like, okay, well, if I fail and rocks fall, and maybe I tell them they're not going to die, but that they would fall down the cliff, they'd be like, okay, cool. Well, now I know what's going to happen, that we're being chased by rock monsters, and that we got to get across this cliff, or those rocks are going to kill us, that they're going to fall on. Where am I going with this? That they could play into that. They know the risk. I'm sorry for that tangent. That made no sense. I'm so sorry. I'm leaving it in though. Basically, I think it should be proper etiquette to make sure that you tell your players what's going to happen if they fail. And that comes up more often. The problem with what I did was that they were set up to fail, and I didn't tell them that. That is really important. But I think in general, whenever there's a risk of failure, you should let them know that they can fail. If they don't think they can fail, right? You get a lot of stuff like Seduce the Dragon, right? That players just do things, and if you don't set it up, that, oh, if you fail to seduce the dragon, that the dragon's going to kill you for being, I don't know, an idiot. But, if you set things up like that, if the players know that there's consequences for their actions and they know you're going to give them those consequences, you get less just, I roll to do this. Right? That's something that frustrates me a lot. I could talk about it in another video. But I want the players to work with me. Something, collaborative experience that we're working together. That they say, I want to do this. I say, here's what happens if you succeed because you want to do this so it works this way. And here's what happens if you fail. And that allows them to interact with it more. If you don't do that, then they can't interact with it. And then they get stuck with consequences they didn't know were coming for them. So I think I'll leave the video here. It's already long enough, I think. And yeah, I hope that you guys got something from this. I hope you enjoyed it. a quick thing on what happened with the rest of the session. The Veer and Kike went to help some of the soldiers. There were some crewmen that had fallen from the ship in their parachutes and get them stuck out of trees and stuff. And they met up with them in the camp. And Imago swarmed in, or came in after they had left the bodies out, because Imago like dead bodies for the chalk. Again, read the freaking Cloud Everest books. This makes no sense if I'm just gonna editorialize so that you guys know what I'm talking about. But that Imago came and there was a whole scuffle with that, and they played it really smartly. I thought it was really cool. The Spymaster Tobin led Lady Orsini away and got her safe before handling the situation, which I thought was very in character. Again, allowing players to understand what's going to happen allows them to play more in character and think of a situation more dynamically. I think that's a good point, that it also allows them to think dynamically about a situation and not just pass-fail. It's, well, what can we do to keep from failing? And letting them know, like in my situation at the beginning of the campaign, that, and it's okay, I think, sorry, I keep talking. Sorry. At the beginning of the campaign, you have more flexibility to take agency away from the player. You have more flexibility to say that rocks fall and your ship explodes. But just tell them, right? I think that's what I'm getting at. I know that's what I'm getting at. That's what I named the video. That is what I'm getting at. That if you tell them that they will be on your team, you don't want the players on the other team. We're all fighting the same fight. Yeah, hopefully that made some sense to you. Hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully you like the way that I'm doing this. Hopefully it'll be more formatted and more better next time, maybe even. So, yeah. Holy shit, thank you for making it to the end. And, this has been Sheriff of Space on Cosmic Crits, my cool new YouTube channel. Catch you later.